Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the United Way of Greater Cleveland's 2024 Signature Fall event. Introducing President of AES Management Corporation and United Way's Board Chair, Vanessa Whiting.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Vanessa Whiting, Chairman of the Board of Directors of the United Way of Greater Cleveland. Tonight, it is my honor to welcome all of you to our signature event, the Business Plan for Cleveland, the untold story of how we all succeed. Tonight, we gather to explore how we can collectively build a more prosperous and equitable Greater Cleveland. We are thrilled to have John Hope Bryant, founder of Operation Hope and Bryant Group Ventures, as our keynote speaker. John is a renowned entrepreneur, thought leader, and a leading expert in financial and economic inclusion. His book, Up From Nothing, The Untold Story of How We All Succeed, serves as the inspiration for our theme tonight. John's lifelong commitment to empowering underserved communities and his innovative approach to financial literacy make him the perfect person to guide us in this important conversation. We are also privileged to have Cleveland Mayor Justin Bibb and Christopher Gorman, Chairman and CEO of KeyCorp, joining us for a roundtable discussion. Their leadership and vision for our city are instrumental as we work together to remove barriers to opportunities for all of Greater Clevelanders. Before we continue, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors whose generous support has made this evening possible. A big thank you to our presenting sponsor, KeyBank, our marketing sponsor, IdeaStream Public Media, our platinum sponsor, AES Management, DBA Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen, Cleveland Guardians, James and Susan Ratner, Oswald Companies. Our gold sponsors include Baker Hostetler, Benish, CBiz, EY, First Energy, Medical Mutual, Mount Sinai Health Foundation, NRP Group, and PNC. Our silver sponsors include Cleveland State University, Cuyahoga Community College, Donor Point, Enterprise Community Partners, Fifth Third, First National Bank, Greece Financial Partners, Heath Analytics, Howard Hanna, Jones Day, PwC, Rockwell Automation, Squire Patton and Boggs, Thompson Hine and Floyd, and Zinner and Company. Also, thanks to our sponsors, we are able to offer complimentary tickets to local college students. We are thrilled to have in the house over 20 students from Cleveland State University here with us tonight. Will you please stand so we can welcome you? Go Vikes. On behalf of Sharon Zobel Jordan, United Way's President and CEO, and our Board of Directors, thank you for joining us for this important conversation. Tonight is about more than just discussing ideas. It's about inspiring action. Let's come together to unlock the potential within every Greater Clevelander, ensuring that everyone has the tools and opportunities to rise up regardless of where we started in achieving lasting success. As you listen to our incredible speaker, I invite you to think differently about how you can help in this shared effort and engage with us in new ways. Now it is time for me to introduce our keynote speaker. We are honored to welcome John Hope Bryant, a visionary entrepreneur, a leading advocate for financial literacy and economic empowerment. As the founder, chairman, and CEO of Operation Hope, John has dedicated his life to uplifting underserved communities and bridging the racial wealth gap. His work has not only transformed countless lives, but also reshaped national policies on financial education and inclusion. Named by Time magazine as one of the global leaders working to close the racial wealth gap, John's impact is felt far and wide. John's journey began in Compton, California, where a chance encounter with a banker sparked his lifelong passion for entrepreneurship. From starting his first business at the age of 10 to founding over 40 organizations, John's story is a testament to the power of resilience and determination. Today, he continues to inspire and lead through his best-selling books, his role as a CNBC contributor, and his numerous advisory positions in both government and business. We are thrilled to have him share his insight and vision with us today. It is now my sincere pleasure to welcome John Hope Bryant to the stage. John.
Good evening, Cleveland.
Good evening.
We have a problem already. See, I'm from the black church. I'm used to seek and respond. It was, by the way, she's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Your CEO of the United Way, a rock star. The leadership I met, the chairman, the vice chairman, the senior leadership here, KeyBank, who is sponsoring this, my brother from another mother, Chris Gorman, who I made an honorary black man. He's sitting right there. See, he's already turning red. See there? See? Turning pink. I'll talk about Chris a little later. The reason I said what I said when I came out was not about me. The Bible suggests be hot or be cold. If you're lukewarm, I'll spat you out. Translation, even God does not like mediocrity. If you're going to do something, do it with both feet. Do it with every fiber of your body. There's no one-handed clap. You've got to be passionate about whatever you're going to do. And if you're going to revitalize this amazing great city, which I really believe you can and you will, it will require everything you have. And if it's any consolation to you that the moment is now, you die twice. You die physically, and you die the last time somebody mentions your name. So what are you waiting for? There is no tomorrow. There's no yesterday. There's only this moment. So let's try it one more time. Good evening.
Good evening.
That's a city that's alive. What if I told you were sitting in a moment in history? Right now. But history does not feel historic when you're sitting in it. It just feels like another day. But that doesn't mean the moment is not, in fact, historic. Somebody do me a favor and bring me one of those chairs out here so I'm going to lean back on it a little bit as I talk. Let me contextualize when I say this is a moment in history. And thank you, my Norwegian friend here. I'm telling you, do your DNA test, I'm telling you. By the way, you guys want to have fun at Christmas? Go give all of your relatives coming to Christmas dinner a DNA kit. About 2 months before, 45 days before Christmas, and have the results sent back to them, but tell them don't open it until they show up for dinner. And you want them all to open it at the kitchen table. You know, racism really is stupid. I'm like scientifically stupid. Do you know why, by the way, I'm going off on a riff here. Do you know why black Africans are black? Because Africa's hot. What's wrong with you people? This is the easy ones. So if you take North America and South America, take Africa and Europe, and you remove the water, click. So why are sub-Saharan Africans dark? Because it's hot. The sun is direct. Let me tell you how amazing God is. Why is the hair kinky in sub-Saharan Africa? Because the softest part of your body is over your brain. Your brain cooks, you're done. That kinky hair takes the heat and absorbs it and dissipates it. Why is the node wide? To serve as an air conditioner for the air before it goes into your lungs. Because if your lungs overheat, you're done. Why are the lips big? I don't know, but everybody wants them. Oh, you guys are loosening up a little bit. And as you go from sub-Saharan Africa to mid-Africa, midway through and up to northern Africa, you get to Morocco. What do people look like in Morocco? Olive skin, curly hair, and you jump over a pond of water, the Mediterranean, and you get to southern Spain, Italy, France. What do people look like there? Olive skin, a little lighter, lightly curled hair. You go into Europe and they call traditionally white. I'm gonna pick up my man Chris for a minute. They look like Chris in Central Europe. And then you go to the Nordic countries. I was going to visit my friend, the Crown Prince of Norway, Crown Prince Haakon, and I show up there at the border in December. Why are you here? I'm here to see the Crown Prince. Why are you here? I'm here to see the Crown Prince. Where are you staying? At the Crown Prince's residence. Okay, this door over here, sir. And security had to come grab me, and no, he's really with us. So I'm in the car, and she's, oh, I'm really sorry you're being hassled like this. This is a Norwegian security, female, wonderful lady. It's midnight in December. She's taking me to the residence, and she said, I'm really sorry it's happening. You seem like a really nice guy. We're going scuba diving tomorrow. We want you to come with us. I said, are you out your mind? It's December in Norway. It's cold. And I've got on 3 jackets, a parka, a sweater, and she's got on basically short pants and a t-shirt. She's oriented to that, her skin is oriented to that weather. Why is her nose narrow? To heat the air before it goes into her lungs. Why is the hair long? Because it covers the ear. If your hair gets cold, you're done. And in Norway, Chris would look dark. Race is stupid. 99 point something percent of all human DNA is precisely the same. By the way, don't trust me. Do your own research. I like math because it doesn't have an opinion. 99% of all human DNA is precisely the same, but we argue over stupid stuff that makes no difference. Why is your skin light or dark? Depends on where the sun has been for tens of thousands of years. But that's not why you're sitting in a moment in history. That was just a funny story I wanted to tell you. You're sitting in a moment in history because this is the third Reconstruction. The first one was after the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln had this special fight that really defined this country, and Frederick Douglass helped him. And we know that history, so I'm not going to go deeply into it. But in the Q&A, if we have time, we can unpack where the word white came from. Because in 4 billion years of organism life in this world, 5 billion years of life of the history of this earth, a couple 100,000 years of modern human being history, the word white was created in the 1600s in North America, the racial word white, made up. So hopefully in the Q&A we'll get into that if we have some time. Whites and blacks got along together, by the way, in 1600s. They were both indentured servants. We don't have time for that right now. But you fast forward from that story to the Freedmen's Bank, created to teach free slaves about money, which was financial literacy, 1865. And it was 40 acres, a mule, and a bank. January, February, March, 1865, and Lincoln gets killed in April. And then you fast forward 100 years to the era of the Civil Rights Movement. My mentor, Ambassador Andrew Young, and his friend, Dr. King, And in each of these movements, by the way, there are whites and blacks working together. Actually, I'm going to go back and tell you very quickly the stories that I think is relevant from the 1600s. So whites and blacks came here together, poor whites and blacks, as indentured servants. 16 blacks, 4 whites. They got along, they were friends. They actually ran away together. They didn't like how they were being treated by the overseer. They were caught, and when they were caught, the overseer's handler said, "We have a problem. They're getting along. They're friends." And the big boss said, "Why is that a problem?" Because the guy said, "Look, boss, we can have a racial problem. We cannot have a class problem because we're the class and we're outnumbered." So they gave the black people life. That was the beginning of slavery. They gave the whites who ran away 2 more years of indentured servitude and then put them in charge of the black people and reminded them or said to them for the first time, "You're white like us." Now the guy people weren't doing critical thinking. They should have said, "But am I wealthy like you? Do I have capital like you? Do I have titles like you? Do I have land like you? Do I have income like you?" They didn't. They just accepted. The person said, "You're white like me." And they were put in charge of blacks, and that went on, that crazy story went on for hundreds of years. And by the way, there was a rebellion, blacks and whites. This story is quite actually inspiring, lost to history. Then you get to the civil rights movement, and Dr. King is basically trying to bring the federal government back into the South because Jim Crow, after Reconstruction, took the federal government out of the South. There was federal laws already in place for the right to vote, public accommodation. All that stuff was already in place in the 1800s. So the civil rights bill that Dr. King and Andrew Young and Coretta Scott King and Dorothy Height and all the heroes and sheroes put in place, those were enforcement actions. And then Dr. King said, "I'm here to redeem the soul of America." He didn't say, "I'm here to save black people." He wasn't a great black leader, he was a great leader, very much like your mayor, Mayor Bibb, who is a great, great man I've known for a very long time. And I knew him, by the way, when he worked at Gallup. He tells me 16 years ago, he said he wanted to be mayor of Cleveland. I said, "Yeah, right." He looked 12 then, and he hasn't changed much. Great, great guy, and you're lucky to have him. So blacks and whites working together in each of these steps, and Dr. King said, "I'm here to redeem the soul of America from the triple evils of war, racism, and poverty." We know what he did about racism. We know what he did with regard to the war. What you may or may not know is he pivoted toward poverty with something called the Poor People's Campaign. And there's more poor whites in America then and now than poor anybody else. Interesting and sad fact, number 1 group dying in America, high school educated white men. So Dr. King was going to pivot to this issue of poverty eradication and called for a movement of all people, and he was assassinated before his first march in Washington, in Memphis, Tennessee, in April of 1968. The same month, 100 years later, is Abraham Lincoln. That was trying to get people from the fields to the factories. It was trying to do basic things like take down a whites only sign. You fast forward to 2020 and call it a Noah's Ark moment. The only time you've had a global pandemic since the Spanish flu, 125 years plus, never happened in the U.S. in the U.S.'s history. And then because you were at home watching the news because of the pandemic, young people, old people, blacks, white, conservative, liberal, old, young, watching the news, then you saw George Floyd's murder. Otherwise, it would not have been news. No one would have got the memo. And you have a social justice reckoning of black America, and then you have the attack on our Capitol that same year, which hasn't happened since the 1700s, and that was the British. And everything gets rethought, reimagined. Yes, frustration rages, but everybody becomes sort of re-engaged in this experiment called America. And I think the third Reconstruction is 2020 to 2030, and none of that has to do with why I'm here. because I'm not here to talk theory. I'm here to talk facts. You've never had a superpower that wasn't the economic power at the same time in the history of the world. Now, I need you guys this is a black church, so you can talk back at me, talk with me, challenge me. Can I get an amen? Help me out here. I just made something, I said a bold statement. You never had a superpower that wasn't the economic power at the same time. Rome? I'm talking to you. Rome? It wasn't a superpower? It wasn't a superpower? You're reading a different history book than I was. And a superpower and the economic power. France, not in order. France, Germany, Britain, and America today is a superpower in the world, and she is the economic power. About $27 trillion of GDP in the world. 8 billion people, there's 350 million people, give or take here. It's a rounding error in America, in the world population, but yet we have an outsized impact in the world. That means it's not just addition, it's multiplication. In any relationship, I love math, as I told you, because it doesn't have an opinion. But when you're in a relationship with somebody, it shouldn't be math, it should be multiplication. If you're in a relationship, 2 plus 2 should equal 6, 8, or 10, or what are you doing? If you're married to somebody, as Quincy Jones once told me, he said, the only thing worse than being alone is wishing that you were. You guys are a tough audience. I'm giving you lob balls, easy ones. So some young people I've been told in the audience tonight, when you go, tonight is Wednesday. When you go to the speakeasy or the club or wherever you go and hang out on Friday night, you say, what's your name? How you doing? Yes, my name is Joe. My name is Joanne. Okay. You're cute. Okay, you're handsome. That's great. That's right. What's your credit score? Because that's your business partner for the rest. If you marry them, that is your business partner for the rest of your life. Can I get an amen? Amen. You have to have a vision for yourself. And so coming back to this thing about a relationship, America's not a country, she's an idea. And we can make her anything we want. Let's break some eggs. Diversity is a cost. Really? In the early 20th century, we would have called diversity that was rejected Italian, Jewish, help me out here, Irish, Polish. This is the rejections in the early 20th century. But let's come forward now really aggressively to the 20th century, to 1972. You know what happened in 1972? The world changed because America changed. America was in this inflection point. We're in this point where we didn't know who we wanted to be when we grow up, and people were rejecting a number of things. Again, we don't have time to get into the weeds here, but there was something called affirmative action. It was created by Kennedy and advanced by Johnson. But do you know who codified affirmative action? Nixon. That's right, Nixon. And it was designed for blacks, but then the court said no, very much like what's going on now. Court said no. So who got through the door? Women. Now hold on for a minute. Women were told in 1972 you could not get a credit card. A woman could not get a credit card in not 1872. 1972. Not a black woman. All women. Am I talking to myself? This is remarkable when I say it. You couldn't get a credit card. You couldn't get a bank account. You couldn't get a loan unless your husband co-signed it. And this was a debate. This was an actual debate in 1972. The laws were changed in 1974. Women came into the workplace and into the economy, led by white women. Black women and others and Latinos followed suit. Well, you say that's a nice little story, John, but what does it have to do with anything? Today, women are a third of the U.S. economy. Now, if I said 10%, 5%, you might have written that off. A third of $26 trillion is big ballin' shot calling. Do I need to translate any of this for you? Without women in the economy and the decisions made in the right way in 1972, 1974, please listen now, we'd be an also-ran country today. A third-rate nation, and not the leader of the world. Did you hear that? Change is never easy. But change is coming whether you like it or not. Where are we at today? And then I'm going to come directly at Cleveland. We're the largest economy in the world. We're the sole superpower in the world. We're the light on the hill. We're the most immigrated to nation, legal immigration in the world. Everybody's trying to get here. Everybody wants to be an American except Americans. You guys are tough. I mean, I'm just dropping it. I'm just dropping the mic. You get some of this at midnight. Oh, that was funny what he said. Good thing I don't have a self-esteem problem. Is it okay if you don't like me? I like me. In 1952, America was 90% white. I'm going to say it again. Not 1852. In 1952, America was 90% Caucasian. By the way, none of what I'm about to say has anything to do with race. Race is just simply the statistical backstop for the story I'm about to tell. Are we okay? Which means that what Dr. King, Andrew Young did, Rosa Parks, all these heroes and sheroes, just talked to Andrew Young yesterday, the last living lieutenant in the world for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., my hero, just a great human being, and built the only international city in the traditional South, Atlanta, into the 10th largest economy in the U.S. at $450 billion a year, which is Atlanta, Georgia. But when they were doing what they were doing, that was a moral act from America. When you have 90% of the country who's Caucasian, what they did for blacks was, at the end of the day, a moral act. You didn't have to do it. Let's fast forward to today. America is the largest economy, sole superpower, already mentioned that. 70% of the U.S. economy is consumer spending. By the way, I believe financial literacy is a civil rights issue of this generation. We need to go from the streets to the suites, from civil rights to civil rights. 70% of the economy is consumer spending. 70% of all Americans are living from paycheck to paycheck. And before you think I'm talking about those people, half of everybody making $100,000 a year are living from paycheck to paycheck. A third of those making $250,000 a year are living today from paycheck to paycheck. You're living in Manhattan. You make $100,000 a year. It feels like $39,000 a year. Can I get an amen? Amen? You see, that wasn't a black amen. It wasn't a Latino amen. It wasn't an Asian amen. It wasn't an Indian amen. It was just amen. The color's not black, white, red, brown, or yellow. It's green. It's always been green. The question is it good capitalism or is it bad capitalism? Slavery's bad capitalism. Is it good debt or is it bad debt? Good debt is tied to something that may appreciate. Bad debt is something tied to something that depreciates. Back to the story. Biggest economy in the world, people living from paycheck to paycheck, no one teaching anybody financial literacy. Demographics. Remember what I said about 1952? This generation is going to be the first generation of baby boomers, majority over 65 years of age in your lifetime. Read white, wealthy, trying to retire, all at the same time. Everybody wants to try to go play golf at the same time. 75 million baby boomers, majority over 65 in our lifetime. That's the wealth creators and that's the income producers at scale walking off the stage. What's today's population makeup? 40% black and brown. Not Cleveland, America. Today. And in 10 years, it's going to be a majority of minorities. Did you get that? I don't know if you should be clapping yet. My rich friends eat my poor friends do better if only to stay rich. Because I told you what's driving the economy is consumer spending, consumer engagement, consumer activity, but this population here has not been taught basic financial literacy. And not just this group, the folks in the middle class folks got too much month at the end of their money. Number one cause for divorce. Number one cause for domestic abuse. Number one cause for heart attacks is stress. Number one cause for stress is money. If your day's not about God or love, your day is about money. And nothing changes your life more than God or love than moving your credit score 120 points. That was good. What's wrong with you people? I'm messing with you, by the way. I love you. And I love being here. You have an opportunity to change the world. And you have an opportunity for Cleveland to be a world-changing example. Let me explain. When I was growing up in South Central LA, I was in the bottom quartile, bottom 99% of all poverty in America. Grandfather, second great-grandfather, George Young, was a slave in Memphis, was part of the Union Army troops, the black troops, part of the Emancipation Proclamation, protecting Memphis as one of 7,000 officers for Abraham Lincoln. Even though the country didn't support him, he was supporting the country. Fast forward to my father, R.B. Smith, who was a sharecropper and in Alabama, 1871. My dad was a businessman, I'm an entrepreneur. My great-grandmother was a slave. My mother's mother, my grandmother owned a shotgun shack in East St. Louis. You could open the front door, the back door, shoot a shotgun right through the front and the back, hit nothing, outhouse in the back. My mother was raised there with her sisters. My mother left there with lessons for life, married my father. She ended up buying 7 homes. I own 700. I'm the largest minority owner of single-family rental homes in America. I am the people's capitalist. Black capitalists matter. I'm just dropping them. But I'm not a genius. Please hear me. I'm role modeling. We model what we. If you hang around 9 broke people, you'll be the 10th. And the opposite is also true. Why do you go to Harvard? Because it's the most incredible university on the planet? It's a nice university. But why do you go to Harvard? Because the class of 2024 is going to hook each other up for the next 40 years. It's relationship capital. Can I get an amen? Amen. So wealth hangs around wealth, poverty hangs around poverty, and the two never meet, and we wonder why they go in opposite directions. We don't have time to go through a history lesson on how people got there. I'm going to tell you how to get out of there. In the Q&A, maybe we can talk about how we got there. That's important to you, but the message, it comes in my life because my dad had all the hustle in the world, but no financial literacy. And my dad would listen to my mother, who was a great saver, told me she loved me every day of my life, was a great saver. They married, they divorced over money. When I was 4 or 5 years old, they fight over money and divorce. I had to call the police on my father. We move into, I'm going fast so I can get to the end here. Am I boring you? No. It's okay anyway, but I'm just asking. And in South Central LA, we moved with my auntie, not really my auntie. My mother told me it was my auntie so I wouldn't feel black families do this. That's your auntie. No, she ain't. What's she related to? So it was her girlfriend, and somebody laughing. He knows the story. And so we're going to move over there because my mother needed to save money for a down payment for a house. She was working at McDonnell Douglas Aircraft, making $15 to $17, $18 an hour and an hourly job as a seamstress. And the ladies, the auntie's boyfriend was OC. OC was going to take care of the household expenses for everybody. Oh, Ambassador Young said, men and women fail for 3 reasons: arrogance, pride, and greed. OC did not want to admit that he couldn't take care of his family and ours, so we went to go get a part-time job around the corner, selling marijuana. So I was playing on his front porch. I fell down backwards and I was choking, and he came and he cleared my throat passage from the back, saved my life. I'm 6 or 7 years old at this point. So I'm idolizing this guy. I'm waiting for him to come home every day so I could talk to him. And one day I'm waiting on the front porch, Mayor Bibb, you know this story where I'm about to go to, because it's a backstop of all of our stories. And he's riding a bicycle down the street from his part-time job. And some guys wait for him to get right in front of the house in a truck. And they hit him from behind. And they drag him down the street, mangle a bike underneath the truck until he's dead. And I can see it. I can see it right now. That was about money. Somebody else they're trying to protect their corner. You don't own the corner. The city owns the corner. It's all a ridiculous conversation. What was the divorce about? My OC got murdered over money. My mom gives us enough money to buy a home. 15502 South Fraley Avenue, Compton, California. We go and live in this house. I make a new friend. His name is George. Again, I'm doing this quick so we can get to the conversation. His name, George had better grades than me, was smarter than me, but didn't have good role models, didn't have role models like me. Even though my mom and dad was divorced, I had to say, yes, I can for my dad, yes, I am for my mom. High self-esteem. There's a difference between being broke and being poor. Being broke is economic, but being poor is a disabling frame of mind, a depressed condition of your spirit, and you must vow never, ever, ever to be poor again. Here's what I know. If I don't like me, I'm not going to like you. If I don't feel good about me, I'm not going to feel good about you. If I don't respect me, I don't have a clue how to respect you. If I don't love me, I have no idea how to love you. And here's the big one. If I don't have a purpose in my life, I'm going to make your life a living hell. Because whatever goes around, comes around. And the most dangerous person in the world is a person with no hope. I didn't have any money. I had lots of hope. So my friend George, who did not have that, was smarter than me. I'm trying to be like him. He's trying to be like my next door neighbor, Tweet, who was a local drug dealer. He started hanging out with Tweet, walking like Tweet, talking like Tweet, acting like Tweet, and got shot and killed with Tweet. 9 years old. I'm 9 years old. That was about. I was done. I'd had enough at 9. It just amazes me what people complain about these days. I mean, I hear these people complaining about that's a high-class problem, right? So I go to school in this classroom, and my new friend had teed this up a little bit. I go to the classroom, and this white banker looked just like Chris, actually. 6'2", white shirt, red tie, blue suit, handsome, rich. And he had on this beautiful suit with beautiful stitching. And I said this on radio this morning on your radio NPR station. I said, the white guy I met in Compton who had a suit on was a detective, and it wasn't a good suit. It was polyester. And this guy in this beautiful suit, and he had a business card, and he had said 16th floor on it, and he was on a salary, he was there in the middle of the day, and he had a car in the parking lot with tags on it. What's wrong with you people? If the person next to you don't know what that meant, lean over and... And so I said, excuse me, sir. Again, I'm trying to get to this so I can get to the punch of me being here, because I only had 30 minutes for this part, and this is so important to get to the solution. So I asked him, what do you do for a living? And how'd you get rich legally? I was dead serious. Remember my background. I was dead serious. There's no 16th floor in Compton. It's a 6th floor. It's a courthouse. Everything, I mean, 16th floor was Long Beach. Nobody had a business card. Nobody has a salary. My mother had an hourly job with 2 15-minute breaks. If my mother showed up in the middle of the day, I was in trouble. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. So, yes. And thank God the parents who show up to whip their kids' rear, to talk to them. So hold on. So my mother, back in the day, my mom and dad divorced, and the law had just passed where you couldn't beat your children. And my mother had explained to me the difference between beating and spanking. I didn't get the memo. So I come home and I did something wrong every day. And so my mother's like, go get a switch. And you go outside and you get the little twig like this. She wants you to go back and get half the tree, right? So she comes in, I'm gonna spank you. And I said, no, you can't spank me. The law says you can't put your hand on a child, your child. She said, oh yeah? I want you to pick up the phone. I want you to dial, this is California now. I want you to dial, the number's there, dial the folks with the red light. That's the police. Okay, call them on me. Okay, got that? Okay, great. Call them on me. When you hang up, dial the folks with the blue light. That's the morgue. You call them on you. Because I brought you in this world, I'll damn sure take you out. I was more afraid of my mother than the gangs. And it was necessary in Compton. My mother did a beautiful job of raising us. And I really wish more people would be all in for their children, like my mother was. And so I went to school and got this lesson on financial literacy. I said, what do you do for a living? How'd you get rich legally? I'm a banker and I finance entrepreneurs. I said, sir, I don't know what an entrepreneur is, but if it's legal and you're financing it, I'm going to be one. And that literally is who I am today. I'm the largest financial inclusion holding company in America. I have $4.8 billion of investments in underserved neighborhoods. I have 1,500 offices, some of which with KeyBank, and I was with my brother and another mother in Buffalo. We opened a Hope Inside location there, and he leaned over to me. I've only had 2 white men teach me about social justice. Chris and the CEO of Walmart, Doug McMillan, who's co-chair of the Financial Literacy for All initiative, gave me a lesson. And so Chris leaned over to me at the opening, and he said, you know, it is entirely possible that the only true freedom is financial freedom. Because every other freedom is going to be taken away from you. Think about it, political freedom, racial freedom, all these other freedoms are going to be taken away from you in a realm. But once you have financial freedom, unless you screw it up, it is yours. Social justice through an economic lens. You deal with class, you get race for free. So hold that for a minute. So 1,500 offices, 48 states, $4.5 billion investment, 400 full-time employees, payroll of $1.5 million every 2 weeks. It's a real business enterprise, but it started with this vision of this kid. And when I asked this banker, are there any more people like you? Are you the only banker? He said, there are tens of thousands of bankers like me. And I said, and your job is to lend poor people money? And I don't get dead if I don't pay you back. He says, no, we issue a notice of default. I said, sign me up. Now I'm joking, but I'm serious. Now I want to now come to Cleveland. I want you to understand something. Please put the one slide I have up. I've mapped every zip code in America by credit score. Everybody else talking about politics, Republicans and Democrats, and black people and white people, and urban and rural, and this fight and that fight. I ignored the noise and just simply got Experian in the US Census to help me map every zip code in America by credit score. And the data is unbelievable. Here's what, forget Cleveland for a minute, let me tell you what the nation tells you, because it is indisputable across the country. But 15 minutes apart in Chicago, anybody in here know Chicago? Okay? Lincoln Park, 745 credit score. Garfield Park, 580 credit score. You live to 61 years old in Garfield Park. You live to 81 years old in Lincoln Park. 15 minutes apart? Somebody know, I can go to Atlanta, I can go to Detroit, but it doesn't matter. By the way, what's the lowest credit score state in America? Mississippi. What's the poorest state in America? Mississippi. What's the most unbanked state in America? Mississippi. Can't make this up. Cleveland. Data. Let me see if I get this right. I'm not looking at it, right? 15 to 17 minutes or 17 miles apart? Yes? Okay. I don't know, I've never been to these zip codes. I intentionally didn't tour the area. Let me tell you what is it a 580 credit score neighborhood? What is it? 593, 500 and something, okay? So you guys know that zip code? Here's what you see in that zip code. You correct me if I'm wrong. Check casher, next to a payday loan lender, next to a rent-to-own store. I'm speaking. Next to a title lender. A title lender, oh no, I'm sorry, we had to translate for my white friends. A title lender is where you take the title for your car and get a loan against it. It's completely ridiculous. Title lender, liquor store, I've already said that, pawn shop, and a church down the street. Trying to make you feel a little bit better once a week so you don't go postal. Now, that's your neighborhood psychologist, the church. So I say to my black friends, you should go see a psychologist. Well, I don't want to go see a psychologist. Somebody may think I'm crazy. If you're black in America and don't think you're crazy, you crazy. By the way, am I picking on black and brown people here? Go to white, rural, poor Ohio with a 550, 580 credit score. Here's what you're gonna see. Somebody who knows the neighborhood, tell me out here. Check casher, payday loan lender, rent-to-own store, help me out, title lender, liquor store, pawn shop, church. It's just that we behave differently. White people go, black people like, that's our club on Sunday. But we in church. And what do 580 credit score neighborhoods do? When they're upset, they riot. Now, somebody says, well, now you're definitely talking about black people. Really? So we're very emotional. We come from Africa. Well, we all come from Africa. Anyway, you'll get that later. So black people, we riot in the streets. Dr. King said that violence is the language of the unseen and the unheard. But my poor white friends seem to be rioting at the ballot box. Am I talking to myself or is this making sense? They're frustrated because the country walked away from them after the Industrial Revolution in the 20th century and never gave them a business plan for the rest of their lives. You live to 68 years old in Kinsman. You live to 81 years old in Rocky River. If that credit score went down to 550, you'd be 61 years old. I've found there's a 20-year gap all across this country, neighborhood by neighborhood, city by city. You live a 20-year longer life in a 700 credit score neighborhood. High school graduation rate. Again, this is completely consistent. 63% in a 590 credit score neighborhood. 90% in a 747. Normally, this is normally 96% on average, which basically means college. Violent crimes per 1,000, 9.5 to basically nothing, 0.09%. Median home values, that's wealth, that's income and wealth. I mean, that's wealth inequality, but that's not really it. The real killer here is home ownership rate. What's the number one way you build wealth in America? It has never gone down in the history of America. Never. There's three things that have never gone down: GDP, stock market value, and real estate value. Now, some smarty pants in the audience will say, I got them now. Doesn't he remember 2008? Slow your roll, turbo. Here's what happens to the economy. It goes up, you have what's called a recession. It recedes, and it corrects above the line. Chris, yes or no? Yes. Every time. Every time. What do poor people do who are financially illiterate? We sell on the dip or never buy at all. 16% home ownership rate in 44104. 78%, that's above the national average, in 44106. Unemployment rate, obvious, 12 to 4. Median household income, 14 to 90,000. Of course, I've already talked about the credit score. So let me now talk about some solutions. In Atlanta, Georgia, Citigroup and Operation Hope and the city of Atlanta, Mayor Dickens, got together and we 2 years ago decided to give every kindergarten kid a savings account. Now, somebody says, oh, that sounds so sweet, that's nice. The data shows you give a kid in kindergarten a savings account with no money in it, they're 50% more likely to go to college. Gets better. You put $50 in the account, and the kid is 75% more likely to graduate from college. We have got 8,000 accounts in Atlanta public schools. Every child in Atlanta public schools has a kid's account today. Why is this important? Because your real capital is human capital. Do I have 5 more minutes? Yes? Okay. You never want to be the old guy in the club. I'm just laying it down with you guys. Before you kick me out, I'm going to leave. But this is really important stuff. I want you to know how tangible this opportunity is for you. So why is this important? Because in Canada, I was there 2 weeks ago, when do they find NHL stars, National Hockey League? Elementary school. When are we finding football players and basketball players and baseball players? Middle school? It's okay if you do. Yes? We farm club professional sports, but the biggest economy in the world leaves the aspirational talents for the bench strength, for the playoff games of the rest of our lives to chance. We don't farm club bankers, engineers, business people, real estate professionals. I mean, healthcare professionals, nothing. Nothing. It's luck and a good parent. What did I have? I had a father who was a businessman, so I became an entrepreneur. I had a mother who owned 7 homes, so I owned 700. Can I get an amen? Amen. You model what you see. If you see a kid in the inner city who's a drug dealer or trying to be a rap star, that kid's not dumb and they're not stupid. They're modeling what they see. Because that's all the symbols they have of success. Children's accounts. Hope Inside. Why are we doing this with Chris? By the way, we're the only nonprofit allowed to operate out of a bank branch in U.S. history. Ever. We're in Wells Fargo, 50 locations. We're in Bank of America, 50 locations. We're in U.S. Bank. We're in First Tennessee Bank. We're in Regions Bank. We're in Synovus Bank. Of course, KeyBank. I mean, Huntington Bank is here. I mean, it's easier to tell you what bank we're not in than what bank we're in. My goal is to be in 10% of all American banks. Why? I want to get them out of the no business. I'm sorry you declined for credit because your credit score stinks. We think it's racism. It might be. But capitalists even want to make money when they're racist. Can I get an amen? So they want to make a loan to you to benefit from you. Don't focus on that. Focus on the credit score. Get the bank out of the no business, back into the yes business, and you get the credit score up. We're getting the credit score up 54 points in 6 months. Debt down $3,800. Somebody making $48,000. Savings up $1,000 to $1,500. You know what that does with somebody making $48,000? It transforms their life. We're moving credit scores 100 points in 18 months. That means the bank can then say yes to home ownership, yes to small business ownership. We had this million black business initiative that we launched with Shopify in 2020, $130 million commitment from the founder of Shopify. It's a funny story behind that because he sent me an email committing to it and it went to my spam folder. $130 million email. And today we're at 450,000 black businesses in 4 years. That's 12% of all black businesses in America. We're teaching folks how to fish at scale. And we go into class, and so you want to get Hope Inside's, you want to be the Starbucks of financial inclusion. You want to be the Walmart of financial literacy. You want to have these Hope Inside locations throughout Cleveland to get the credit score up. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but what you have got to do is, I say you got to get the credit score up 100 points throughout your city. Just do that. You'll transform Cleveland. I know this sounds crazy. The data is irrefutable. 700 credit score neighborhoods don't riot, they go shopping. Am I talking to myself? We have this, I'm done, I'm wrapping up, but I mean, as you know, I could talk forever up here about this, but there's so many real programs we've created that's turned the needle. We have this Hope Business in the Box program in middle school. Quick story. So we put this Hope Business in the Box into a middle school, and it was like $25,000 for the year. And we let kids come up with a business idea. By the way, what do you think a drug dealer is? An illegal, unethical entrepreneur. They understand import, export, finance, and marketing, wholesale, retail, customer service, security, territory, logistics. What do you think a gang leader is if not a frustrated union organizer? These folks have potential and skills, but we see them as convicts and criminals, and they are living down to your potential and your expectation. What do you think NASCAR came from? It's moonshine running. That's literally true. Rainbows follow storms. I need you to see your city as a place of potential. I need you to see wealth creation is not a zero-sum game. You literally cannot grow Cleveland unless you expand the pie. You're not cutting up a poverty pie. You're creating more pie. I'm talking about expanding the table and adding a chair. Let me say this bluntly. There's not enough college-educated, successful white men to drive GDP for this nation for the next 30 years. You take every college-educated, successful white man and put him in there. I want you to succeed. I need you to succeed. I don't want to speak Mandarin in 10 years. I don't want to speak Russian. You know there's 4 countries that want to take us out. Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. They want our way of life. Am I talking to myself? It's obvious. And we got to stop arguing with each other and realize we are better together. And so when you get the credit score up, so anyway, this story about the Hope Inside, we finish this Hope Business in the Box Academies, we do it, the kid gets 2 minutes to pitch their business idea, and the judges, they have a timer, the judges listen to it, okay, they win it, the kid gets $500, up to $500, it goes into a bank account. You can't get the money unless a volunteer goes with you to the bank. Do you remember your passbook account? experience I did. Oh, I remember opening this gentleman right here. Remember that? Opening a bank account? You, I'm right? You, the white guy right here. Yeah. And now I got you. And then you get to a business plan with that role model, and you start your business. Anyway, this group of kids went in, and I'm in the restroom. I'm sorry, my employee was in the restroom in a stall, he told me, and some kids came in, kicked the door in. They lost. I can't tell you exactly what they said because they're taping this. Bunk this stuff. This is a mess. I hate Mayor Bibb. Just kidding. Not your program. I hate this, bro. I hate the mayor. I hate this. This is crazy. I hate Operation Hope. This is stupid. Well, man, I don't know. That other group, they had matching uniforms. They looked like they had rehearsed. They had a whole thing going on. They were sort of better than us. I don't know. I'm going to get them next time. Did you get that? In order to get them next time, you got to change that rage into passion and purpose and a plan and go back in and compete again. That is the turn you want. You raise credit scores 100 points in your city. It's not about the credit score. It's the trending indicators of hope, well-being, belief, confidence, joy, faith, compassion. You let people come and see you. Everybody here, go and find a classroom and mentor it. Find a young person to inspire. Be the change you want to see in the world. Last point. I mean, I could talk all day about all the change we're seeing at Operation Hope, and we're managing all the Delta employee financial wellness. On the way here, Delta employee passes me a note. It's in my backpack, and it states, "You changed my life with a $1,000 emergency savings account of financial literacy." I get it wherever I go. I go through airports. The TSA agents are screaming out their credit score numbers to me. Isn't that cool? We need a mind shift. You hear me? But you've got to believe. I'm done now. But you've got to believe. Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. Success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. An entrepreneur works 18 hours a day to keep him getting a job. I take note for vitamins. Where is your can-do attitude? Where is that Cleveland spirit that says, I am somebody? Whose city is this? No. Get personal. Whose city is this? Whose city is this? Whose city is this? That's all you need to change the world. I'm done.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage the President and CEO of the United Way of Greater Cleveland, Sharon Sobel Jordan.
Oh my goodness. Good evening, John. What a powerful call to action to the work ahead of us. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to see so many friends here tonight. As many of you know, I have devoted my career to working for social justice because I believe that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect and have a real chance to succeed. But I also know that Cleveland's future depends upon it. And yet, as I stand here today, I feel even more humbled and more hopeful than ever about what's next for our United Way. What if tomorrow you chose to act on just one idea from tonight? Think about what might be possible, the remarkable changes we could set in motion because we are here together tonight. In these next few minutes, I want to share a few stories about the progress we've made and the exciting road ahead. My hope is that you'll start to see our United Way in a new light, maybe take away something you didn't expect or didn't know, but mostly feel inspired to jump in with us. So, imagine that it's a few years from now. People across the country are taking notice of Cleveland because we are proving that when everyone gets a fair chance to succeed, the whole city starts to win. And we have made this possible. Incredible change driven by our bold actions and unwavering commitment to each other. change that started with the choices we made today. So where do things stand right now? Well, Greater Cleveland has a $266 billion economy, making us one of the top 20 regions in the nation. Compared to our peers in the Great Lakes, last year we ranked 4th in business growth, 7th in job growth, and 5th in personal income growth per person. While these economic numbers are strong, some families are not feeling the effects in their daily lives just yet. In fact, looking back 15 years, the number of Greater Cleveland families living at or near the poverty line has remained at about 250,000, despite our efforts to change that. Racial and economic gaps continue to widen, making it even harder to make ends meet for those with wages too low to keep up with rising costs. Callers to our helpline, United Way 211, continue to give us a clear snapshot of community needs, with housing, utilities, and food consistently topping the list. Those needs have not changed, despite all of our efforts to do that. All to say, we still have a lot to do. So why United Way? We all need help sometimes. Family and friends can lend a hand, but when that's not enough, United Way is here to make it happen in two very powerful ways. First, we're working to break down the barriers to economic opportunity, clearing the way for more people to get good jobs, move up in their careers, and build financial security. Second, we're your front door to the entire social safety net. You can dial 211 anytime, and we'll pick up the phone to connect you with what you need when you need it. It's completely confidential and open to everyone, no matter your income. Last year alone, we worked with callers on over 198,000 requests for help. Thank you. Thank you. With over a century of history and experience behind us, our United Way is committed to shaping a future where everyone has a real chance to succeed. So what's really holding people back? Yes, personal effort matters, but that's not the whole story. There are deep, systemic barriers that make it harder for some of us to get ahead. That's why United Way focuses on the social determinants of work. These are the everyday challenges that impact our success at work, like affordable childcare, reliable transportation, continuous education, and safe housing. Imagine how much more productive and engaged we could be at work if these obstacles were removed. It could change everything: our work, our well-being, our future. So here's an example. Let's talk about housing. We know it's not just a basic need, it's a game changer for every family. So over the past few years, our United Way has teamed up with many of you in government, business, and nonprofits to launch and scale 4 leading-edge housing solutions: the Lead Safe Cleveland Coalition, the Seamer Family Stability Initiative, Right to Counsel Cleveland, and the Louise C. Stokes Scholar House. They have already benefited over 35,000 local families by preventing evictions, providing safe housing, and even keeping children and their parents in school. They also are considered national models and have been replicated in other markets to benefit even more families. So what progress have we made together? Well, quite a bit, actually. We've increased the availability of lead-safe housing for nearly 30,000 families in Cleveland. That's 30% of the city's rental units, with full funding in place to finish the job. Nearly 1,800 families with school-aged children were able to stay in their homes and keep their kids in school, with about $1,500 in assistance per family to manage unexpected major expenses. Evictions and unplanned moves were prevented for 81% of the low-income families, provided free legal representation last year. And 40 single parents enrolled in college and their children now have stable housing, reliable childcare, and other supports both generations need to chase their dreams. Our job at United Way is not delivering these services directly. It's making sure they're available and effective. We do this by tracking community needs, bringing the right partners to the table, and sharing our data and insights to guide decisions. We also engage donors, push for policy changes, serve as fiscal sponsor, and provide outcome evaluations to make sure we're truly making a difference together. So, what difference does this really make for local families? Well, let me tell you about one family headed by a single mother of 3 whose professional passion is nursing. Despite working 2 jobs, she struggled to keep her head above water due to rising costs for rent, food, and other essentials. It all fell apart earlier this year when the family lost their home, and then she lost her job. She called United Way 211. Our team immediately connected her to the central agency that helps Greater Clevelanders with temporary shelter options. Within a few months, the family was able to move into a new home of their own. They did this with the help of Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry, including direct support from LMM's Flexible Housing Fund, a new solution launched this year that we at United Way are proud to fund. This family's story is all too familiar, and just one of thousands United Way 211 has helped to access what they need, when they need it, from our social safety net. Today, this caller works part-time and goes to school full-time. She's back on track to become a nurse. She credits the support that she received, particularly from Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry, with helping her reset her family's course. It truly was the right help at the right time. Now, thank you. Now, here's a story you probably haven't heard. As we gather here tonight, I know many of us are thinking about family and friends living in the path of Hurricane Milton. We know a little bit about how scary severe weather can be. Think back to August when tornadoes and severe storms hit Northeast Ohio. How many of you lost power completely? Me too. And some of us were stuck without power for over a week. Well, here's what was happening over at United Way 211. Because we work with other helplines to ensure around-the-clock service, we also were answering the phones for the city's 311 support line that night. When the storms hit, we saw a nearly 700% jump in calls almost instantly. Our team acted fast, reaching out to 80 agencies and making nearly 500 updates to our robust database of community resources. Within 48 hours, Mayor Bibb and the City of Cleveland pulled together a work session to coordinate the response. They started by consulting our United Way 211 team to hear what residents were saying. The rest of the conversation focused on how key community responders could address these urgent needs. The city then issued a media release to get this information out to Cleveland families, with 211 highlighted as one of the numbers to know. And it didn't end there. Once the power came back on, our 211 team saw a nearly 300% spike for calls for food. No power for days meant spoiled food, and many didn't have the resources to restock. We passed this data along to Chris Ronayne and our partners at Cuyahoga County, which helped them successfully secure funding to meet the high demand for food. Capturing real-time data and sharing it with officials to drive actual solutions, that's just one more way United Way 211 is a lifeline for our community. Thank you. Thank you. I am so grateful to our 211 team who, even while dealing with their own power outages at home, stayed on the phones and put others first. Let's take a moment to recognize our team. I know we have some 211 team members here tonight. Please stand. And with the rest of the United Way team, both board and staff, please stand. Please join me in the amazing team. Thank you. Thank you. So what's next for our United Way? All of these efforts are part of a broader strategy to connect the humanity that drives our charity with our power to make real change. We're constantly keeping an eye on our data and the latest research to share insights and take action on what truly matters. In fact, Opportunity Insights, a leading voice on economic mobility, recently released a report that confirms we're on the right track. Their findings show that a child's future success is strongly influenced by the employment rate of parents in the neighborhood where they grow up, often more so than their own family situation. This underscores the need for policies that invest in both human capital, like education and job training, and social capital, meaning community networks that are well-connected and well-resourced, particularly in neighborhoods with low employment. Insights like these are helping us double down on what sets us apart at our United Way and where we can have the biggest impact. We're focused on scaling up proven solutions to help more people get and keep good jobs. We're focused on giving new ideas a chance that have potential to impact long-term economic mobility and success. And we're focused on working with government and business leaders to shape better policy that support retention, engagement, and career advancement. If we can expand what's already working, try out new ideas, and push for systemic changes, we have a real opportunity to make a significant difference for families all across Greater Cleveland. Your partnership and support are what power our work. I often get asked, how can I really get involved? So before I close, let me just share a few ways we would love to team up with you. First, if you have items that you want to donate, call 211. This year alone, we helped nearly 700 people donate everything from clothing to furniture to medical supplies to food and so much more, all going directly to local families. Second, check out our volunteer portal available on our website to everyone. We have several meaningful opportunities available for you to volunteer with your family, with your friends, or on your own. And we are happy to work with corporate partners to customize a team day of action. Third, with new investments in data, analytics, and AI, we're diving deeper to understand not just what drives community needs, but why they fluctuate. We need your input to find better solutions to reduce them for good. So learn with us, challenge us, ask us questions, share your insights. To get started, check out our first piece, which is on our website right now with more to follow. And finally, your gift to our United Way is more than a donation. It's an investment in change. Soon, through our mobile platform, you'll be able to see community needs, track your giving history, and make informed decisions about where your support can have the most impact. With everything at your fingertips, you'll be an active investor in driving change across our community. Now, as I get ready to introduce our next guests, I hope you are taking away a fresh perspective on our United Way, maybe even a few insights you hadn't considered before. The stories I've shared are just the start of what's possible. I invite you to dive in with us to help make this change happen. Let's make Greater Cleveland a place where we all can succeed. I am so deeply grateful to be doing this work alongside you. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you. And now, it is my pleasure to say a few words of introduction before our next two guests come out on stage and join John for their much anticipated conversation. First, let's bring John back out on stage. John. Next, Chris Gorman, would you please join us on stage?
Thank you.
I'm just going to say a few words about Chris as he takes his seat. As the chairman and chief executive officer at KeyCorp, Chris Gorman brings a corporate perspective to our shared vision of economic empowerment, recognizing the critical role that businesses play in community development and economic inclusion. Under his leadership, Key has been involved in various initiatives aimed at supporting financial literacy and economic mobility because Chris understands that when business invests in their communities, they help create a more robust and resilient local economy. In addition to serving as our presenting sponsor for the evening, Key is United Way's largest workplace campaign with nearly 2,500 employees contributing last year. And I know there's many Key team members here tonight. It's great to see you here with us. Chris, we are so grateful to you and your team for your incredible generosity and partnership in our work. Thank you.
It's great to be here tonight.
And now, Mayor Bibb, would you join us? Mayor Bibb is our 58th mayor of Cleveland, working to improve public safety, invest in neighborhoods, and modernize City Hall. He was born and raised on Cleveland's southeast side in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood. Mayor Bibb has worked in government, business, and the nonprofit sector as an executive and nonprofit leader. Since taking office, Mayor Bibb has successfully brought Cleveland back into the national conversation. For the first time in decades, Cleveland has a leadership role in the U.S. Conference of Mayors, Ohio Mayors Alliance, Climate Mayors, the Democratic Mayors Association, and the Mayors Against Illegal Guns Coalition, all prioritizing state and national advocacy to bring grants and partnerships home to our city. On a personal note, I have known our mayor for some time. I am so grateful for your smart, strategic thought partnership and bold leadership, Mayor. We at United Way share your vision for a Cleveland that works for all. We are here to do our part to make that vision a reality. And now, it is my pleasure to turn it over to you, Mayor Bibb, to continue the conversation.
Thank you so much. United Way, how you doing? It's so great to be with two leaders in business that I admire. John, I wasn't 12 when we met, but over the last 16 years, I've been so inspired by your campaign across the world for financial inclusion. And Chris, we worked together when I was at Key. Great to have you here today. Chris, I want you to reflect on John's remarks this evening and really chime in on what do you think the pathway is for Clevelanders and Americans to financial freedom? And why is your partnership with Operation Hope so important for you as CEO of KeyBank?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's a privilege to be here. It's a privilege to be on the stage with both of you. So what a great talk that was, by the way. I think, look, as you think about advancing, everyone in this room has, people are old, young, black, white, different backgrounds. The one thing everyone in this room has in common is education. And I think if there was one thing that I think we need to really focus on first, it's education. And you can go, as many of you know, I spend a lot of time on Say Yes to Education. And look, the educational system is hardly perfect. Nothing's perfect. We can do a lot better. But one of the things I read this weekend that we as a community, I think, can do a lot about is making sure that our students are in school. And there was an article in the Plain Dealer on Sunday that talked about the truancy rates like 50%. So if you think about the fact that most kids aren't in school, school is only in session every so often, really. And if people are only going half the time, that's something we as a community can do and we can fix that today. Because, Mayor, if you were only in the office half the time, you'd be voted out of office.
Yes.
If I was in the office half the time, I'd be fired by my board. John Hope Bryant, if you were only working half the days, you'd be only half as rich as you are now. So I really mean that. I think that's one thing, Mayor, we can do. And I think as a community, we should come together and make sure that our students are going to school. And so I think that's really important. The other thing is housing. I think that affordable housing, and I'm really proud of what Key has done in this regard, but it's a huge unmet need. And people need a good place to live so they're not moving around. When it comes to affordable housing, we just inked a deal, Mayor, with your leadership. We're going to together try to raise $100 million. That can make a huge difference. And that's one of the challenges, basically, with kids not being in schools or moving around. And if we can we have a great place for everyone to live. I think so those are the two things. And I think they're interrelated: education and affordable housing.
And those are all building blocks to economic prosperity and opportunity in this country. John, I loved your slide because, as former Mayor Bloomberg once said, you can't manage what you can't measure. Data is everything. And that slide hit home for me because I was born and raised in the adjacent zip code in the Mount Pleasant New Miles neighborhood, 44105. And I want to get your perspective on the why. Why do we see lower credit scores in historically redlined black and brown neighborhoods all across this country? And what's the missing link? And why is it important to have partners like KeyBank to help solve that equation?
Yeah. So trying to truncate this. You had the Homestead Act. Everybody knows 40 acres in a mule. What you don't know is that was actually only 18,000 recipients of 40 acres after slavery. It's 400,000 acres. It was in North Carolina. It was on the beach. And a year after it was given, it was taken back. People don't know that. It was actually retracted by the president that came after Lincoln. So that actually never happened. It happened and didn't happen. Then you had the Homestead Act, which was 270 million acres. And that was 99%, 98% Caucasian people settling west. That's 10% of all American land. And then you go to 1930, where it wasn't banks that was redlining, it was the government, FHA. I'm not going to repeat everything I just said.
I'll repeat the last thing, FHA.
Yeah. No, what he wants me to repeat is that it wasn't banks redlining. It was the redlining comment comes. The redlining point in history doesn't come from banks redlining. It comes from the federal government redlining. It was the FHA that said that these neighborhoods were unsafe, and they were unsafe because of systemic discrimination. By the way, with the federal government, these neighborhoods are unsafe. They put a red line around it. As a result of that, nobody wanted to insure. The federal government wouldn't provide insurance for mortgage insurance, so then the banks wouldn't lend in areas that had no mortgage insurance. So they went to areas that were yellow and green, which were white neighborhoods. They got the mortgage insurance. They got the mortgages. Well, guess what? Those values went up. So you had literally homes worth 4 times, 5 times, 6 times more in value in the areas where you could get mortgage insurance and a mortgage than an area that the federal government said was redline. That was 1930. And that went on for a very, very long time. It was up until really the civil rights movement when a lot of those things were reversed. And so you have this systemic embed discrimination and bias that has had a groundwater effect. It goes back from the Civil War. And as far as why today, no one ever gave us a memo on money. That's right. I mean, we're not dumb and we're not stupid. It's what you don't know that you don't know, but you think you know. And no one's ever given. I get 1 million to 1.5 million viewers, Mr. Mayor, every week on my social media. These are the data shows that it's young black men, 18 to 35, looking for a role model, a mentor. And what I do these tests on my social media. Again, 1.5 million views a week. And I'll say things provocative like, you say you hate rich people. No, you don't. You hate rich people till you become rich. And just like that, everybody laughs. Because it's what you hate is a game system. And people feel that the system has been gamed. And what I'm trying to do is to unpack it and repack it with underserved in mind.
Is the solution mandatory financial literacy education, K through 12, is that the solution?
That is certainly, without question, legislatively mandated and funded to school districts, because school districts are businesses. I mean, I got President Bush and President Obama to sign an executive order making financial literacy federal policy. Yeah. But there was no money attached to it, so school districts laughed because they saw it as an unfunded mandate. So school districts have to get compensated to embed this in the curriculum. And then you need, everybody's financially illiterate, including the teachers. So you need the private sector to lean into these communities as role models and volunteers to teach financial literacy, which is a double effect.
And I want to drill down on this and have you respond, Chris. I think one of the major issues we have with this notion of financial literacy and just banking in general is a lot of people don't trust banks. I remember growing up and my grandparents, a lot of them kept a lot of that money underneath that mattress. A lot of them still do. How do we change the trust equation, Chris, from your standpoint, for more communities of color to trust banks, to trust financial institutions so they can be a part of this generational wealth creation?
Well, look, it's a challenge. I think we continue as an industry to make huge progress, but the way you make progress and the way you build trust is you build relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way to build trust is to have a relationship. And, you know, part of having a relationship, whether you're in the banking business or you're in any other business, is you have to go to where your potential customers are. And so what we do is we spend a lot of time in church basements, at workplaces, where we try to bring people along, and whether workplace banking, or we spend a lot of time talking about, you know, what does it take to get a mortgage and how do you do it? And then when we have a lot of success, and then what we do internally is every quarter we talk about success stories, and we talk about, I can tell you about a woman who here in Cleveland that we celebrated the last quarter, where she had a poor credit score. We helped her through all the coaching that we can do, get a higher credit score. We have a $5,000 stipend that we offer that can be used either for a down payment or can be used for any other expenses. And this woman has purchased and owns a home, and she did it. When we first did the math, we thought she'd have to come up with $660. Actually, at the end of the day, she ended up with a $1,700 credit, owns a house, and she's off and running. And so what we do is we go out and we tell stories like that all the time to create the relationships, to create the trust, so that people understand that banks are really there to help. The other thing that, you mentioned, John Hope Bryant, you mentioned in certain neighborhoods with low credit scores, the check cashers, the title lenders. I mean, we also have to be very direct as banks in the banking industry at communicating what is going on there that is frankly completely different than what banks do. Payday lending is like factoring receivables. Once you do it once, it's a cycle that no one could break. And so I feel like, you ask what the industry can do better. It's go out, build relationships. These are future customers, and then tell the story, build another future customer. And it's like any other business, you grow it one new customer at a time. We are only as strong as the communities in which we operate. We have 3.5 million customers. We have 17,000 employees. They all come from the communities in which we operate, so it's in all of our interests to bring everybody along.
That's great. John?
I can't underscore one thing he said enough. This is about creating more customers. I'm not asking you for charity. I'm not asking you for handouts. I'm not asking you to go to church, even though you should. I'm asking you, I'm not telling you to be kind to your neighbor. I'm telling you, this is your enlightened self-interest, to lift people up at the bottom, because those are emerging market customers. Those are taxpayers. When you become a homeowner, you're paying taxes. When you pay taxes, you tend to vote. I mean, all these things are connected together. Here's two things. He's got something called the Community Reinvestment Act. Every bank in town has a CRA requirement, Community Reinvestment Act. If you take in deposits, you must reinvest in communities. So this is private capital that, if you can get the credit score up, they're going to try everything they can to disperse in the communities. Now, you have something called the EITC. You know what this is.
Earned income tax credit.
All right. My guess is that a majority of people in Cleveland make under $65,000 a year.
That's correct.
You make $38,000 a year. You have 3 children. The government owes you about $7,000 cash. All you have to do is file an amendment to your tax return. My people will do that for you. The United Way will do that for you. They'll wire the money into your bank account. Get this, you leave here tonight, you call your cousin, everybody here knows somebody making less than $65,000 a year. You call your cousin, you call your friend. Girl, I was at this event tonight. This guy was talking about something like EI, something, TC. You ever heard about that? If that person says no, you come and you call and you thank United Way and the mayor and Chris, because you just got that person a check. And get this, if you never filed, it's retroactive for 3 years.
Wow.
So you made $38,000 a year, you get a $7,000 check, times 3. That's almost $20,000. That's your down payment for your home. That's the down payment, that's your startup capital for your business. That is what you need, your credit score up, your debt down, your savings up, so you can qualify at midnight When you go to the computer, it doesn't ask you what color you are. It wants to know what your credit score is. And he'll give you the capital. Now you got the down payment. Now you can create a whole new generation of stakeholders in Cleveland.
That's great. That's great. That's great. But before you wrap up, I want to just end with a few more questions. One, this is a nonpartisan message, but early voting started yesterday. We know the economy is top of mind for voters all across the state and all across the country, and especially here in Cleveland. Chris and John, if President Trump or President Harris calls you the day after the election and wants your counsel on 1 to 2 things we need to do to close the racial wealth gap in this country, what would be your advice? Chris?
So the first thing I would talk about is financial literacy, because, you know, there is a huge, there really is not an earnings gap. We do a bunch of analysis on this. There clearly is a wealth gap. And the difference is, I think, people really taking a long-term perspective. And that's one of the things we like so much about Hope Inside, because you basically lay out a roadmap. And, you know, one of the principal elements of that is just knowing how to plan. And the other is just delayed gratification. But part of delayed gratification is you have to have a game plan. Yeah. And so I would be a huge promoter of financial literacy. And the other thing that I mentioned earlier tonight is making sure that we're doing not only financial literacy, but just education broadly, making sure our kids are in school. Those are the 2 things I would focus on. And they're both very doable, by the way.
Absolutely. John?
Financial literacy, bipartisan legislation starting in the Senate. I think you can get 80 U.S. senators from both Republican and Democratic parties. Already got a few senators willing to tee it up to have bipartisan legislation, because America is exhausted with division. Mm-hmm. We're exhausted. We can find something we can agree on. Yes, we're exhausted. Financial literacy is not complicated, it's not controversial. Get the Senate to get 80 votes from both both parties to agree on it, embedded in, get the House to pass it, get the president to sign it, and get civil rights and civil rights at the White House to stand behind this legislation, make it the civil rights issue of this generation. We've already talked about what that should include from K to college, but also it should include a bank account for every child at birth. A bank account at birth. It should be part of it should be your Social Security, your Social Security account, and a bank account at birth. You live in a free enterprise democracy. And then you should tie that tie the earned income tax credit as a embedded right. You shouldn't have to have a tax pro to get it. It should be a bonus for middle class people who are working. Wall Street gets a bonus, Main Street should get a bonus. It's not a handout, it's a hand up. The third thing, and that bank account should be used, by the way, to seed into Wall Street, into an index investment account, so that kids can see that you build wealth in your sleep. You make money during the day, you build wealth in your sleep. This is going to keep kids in school, because now you plug the socket in the wall, connect education with aspiration. Now kids know why they're going to school, and they can dream big dreams, so they can grow up to be rich like Chris. And then the last thing should be a tax plan where the private sector is incentivized through a tax write-off and a tax benefit to hire interns at the urban level, at the rural level. I call it inclusive economics. So internships, apprenticeships, what did I call it? Farm clubbing. Get a tax plan that incentivizes the rebuilding the ladder from the bottom up. And we need to train an entire generation of us for AI. Artificial intelligence is going to be the biggest game changer in your entire life. We went from the horse and buggy to the automobile from 1850 to 1910. We're going to go from labor as a driver to technology-driven technology with labor overseeing it in the next 5 years. AI is going to absolutely change everything, and we need to retrain an entire generation of Americans to control the new horse, don't become the horse, because after the 20th century was over, the most valuable thing for a horse was glue. And I'm not joking, it was in 1910. Human beings, you make money during the day, you build wealth in your sleep. Use your intellect to build wealth. Use your intellect to have a higher idea and a higher job aspiration through skilled opportunity. This whole game is going to change with technology, and there's no reason why Cleveland, as an example, can't be an epicenter for all that's going on in the changes in finance, real estate, healthcare, and technology.
Before we wrap up, one final piece of advice for the audience in the room tonight.
Do something. I don't really care what you do. Just do something. PhDs are good and PhDs are better.
And the church said?
The world's not going to remember you based on what you got. The world's going to remember you based on what you give. And don't be afraid of the future. 1 out of 7 jobs in Ohio is an agricultural job. But your GDP is only 3% agriculture. Think about that. 1 out of 7 jobs in Ohio is an agricultural job. But 3% of your GDP comes from agriculture. That's looking backwards, not looking forwards. Look at where the economy's going. Look at where you're going. Don't be afraid of the future. You cannot have an America without Ohio.
Amen. Or Cleveland.
Or Cleveland. I was going there. And just remember, I love you. We are each other's brothers and sisters. I don't know you, but I love you.
Chris?
Amen. This is totally doable. There's a few levers that we can pull that can make a huge difference. We have incredible resources to work with here in Cleveland. It's been a privilege to be with both of you this afternoon. Both of you are part of the great part of what we can do, so thank you.
You should know, by the way, when I travel the country, he is a rock star.
Oh, thank you.
People think he is amazing. I'm serious. Other mayors sending me notes about Mayor Bibb. You should realize that you have a real gift here. And you have a gift also called the City of Cleveland. I love you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Marianne, and hello, everyone else. I'm Randy Payne, and I just want to quickly, because I know that I stand between, Jim and I stand between you all and refreshment, and we do want you to stick around and continue this conversation. But let me just first and lastly thank John Hope Bryant, Mayor Bibb, and Chris for that inspiring conversation. There was a lot there, but I have 3 just quick takeaways. First, financial empowerment and literacy are real game changers for everyone here in Greater Cleveland. Financial education doesn't just improve individual lives, it has the power to lift entire communities. Second, true progress happens when business, government, and nonprofits come together. Working together, we can break down systemic barriers and build up solutions that stand the test of time. Finally, third, breaking down barriers to economic opportunity for all isn't just a nice to have, it's essential for Greater Cleveland to be a place where everyone can succeed. Tonight's event is just one of the ways that United Way leverages our global network to bring in fresh perspectives to inform local problem solving. We hope this conversation sparks different ways of thinking for you and that you will share your ideas and questions with us and each other. Before we close, one of our co-chairs couldn't be here tonight, but sent this video message. Please play the video from Paul Dolan. As you all know, he's in Detroit. We're going to get a win tomorrow night. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Randy, and good evening, everyone. I'm speaking to you from this past Monday. As you can see, I'm at Progressive Field, and we're preparing for Game 2 of our series with the Detroit Tigers. I wish I could be with you tonight, but tonight I'm in Detroit for Game 3. Hopefully we've had good news on both those fronts. But in any event, I know you've had a great night tonight, and I hope you enjoyed it. As many of you know, I've been involved with our United Way for most of my career, both as a board member and as the immediate past chair. And what really has hooked me about being involved with United Way and what keeps me engaged is our focus on true community change and tackling the root causes of our biggest challenges. I'm proud of what we've achieved so far, and I'm optimistic about the impact we can make in our city. By working together and staying focused on those who need our help the most, we're making steady progress. Sharon, Vanessa, and our United Way board and team are doing incredible work, made possible by all of you here tonight. Together, we've built a solid foundation, and going forward, we will keep pushing to remove barriers to economic opportunity. Creating more chances for everyone in Greater Cleveland to succeed is how we'll make our hometown a better place for all of us. So thank you for your commitment to this vital mission. Now I'll hand it over to my friend Jim Ratner to wrap up the evening, and go Guards.
On behalf of all of us at United Way, we are very grateful to each and every one of you for coming out to Playhouse Square this evening to thank you for your partnership and support of our United Way. We wanted to treat you to something really special. And thanks to John Hope Bryant, Mayor Justin Bibb, and Chris Gorman, I know we did. Can we have one final round of applause for our speakers? I also want to recognize and thank once again all of our sponsors for their generosity and support of this program. Special thanks to our presenting sponsor, KeyBank, and our marketing sponsor, IdeaStream Public Media. My wife Susan and I are proud to be platinum sponsors, along with AES Management Corp., DBA Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen, Cleveland Guardians, and the Oswald Companies. But the night is not over yet. While this concludes our formal program, we would ask you to join us now for a reception in the Mimi, Ohio Theater lobby. Thank you all, and enjoy your evening.